Hey guys, welcome to GC's digital learning session. The topic for today is when to cement and when to bond. Now, the million dollar question that raises is, are bonded crowns better than the cemented ones? So, for that, we need to understand when we should cement and when we should bond. If you see, over the years, there has been a great paradigm shift in terms of indirect restorations we give. It used to be metallic processes, metallic crown and bridges before. Then came the PFM. Then now you see a variety of all ceramic crowns and bridges which are being provided to the patients. Also, we have seen a shift, a change in the type of cements which are available as a luting options. It used to be polycarboxylate in the beginning, and then came the glass ionomers, and now we see a range of resin cements which are there as luting options. Now, these many luting options confuse us that when do we really cement and when do we really bond? Demystifies the mystery behind when to cement and when to bond. If you see, the most commonest complaint nowadays is the dislodgement of crowns. Of late, it has been the most repeated complaint which the patient comes up with, raising a question whether cementing is better or the bonded luting is better. Gordon Christensen's article, Why Crowns Are Coming Off, clears a lot of air on luting and bonding and why the processes are coming off. We shall try to know the reasons behind it and we shall try to find the solutions for the same. The articles of Gordon Christensen shall be shared to you at the end of the session. So let's understand when do we cement and when do we bond. So the first thing is when do we cement. Now what is cementation? Cementation is typically used when your preparation allows the mechanical retention. And what are the various aspects to that define your choice of optimal cementation are? Like basically the first one is the retentive preparation. Second, when the isolation is not possible. Third is when moderate aesthetics is desired, like not much of aesthetics is required. And the patients with special needs because the salivation and all is very heavy in these kind of patients. And what are the various cements which can be used for cementation is the conventional glass ionomers like Fuji 1, the resin modified glass ionomers like Fuji Plus and Fuji Sem. Now, if we consider what might be the advantages of cementation procedure, the major advantages would be the cleanup is very easy. It is more predictable with the preparations with little enamel and it tends to be less time consuming. But it also comes up with a lot of disadvantages, like it does not tend to generally increase the strength of the final restoration, and it is more impacted by resistance and retention form of the preparation. Last but not the least, it can't be used in the materials that require bonding. This is what is cementation all about. Now let's see when do we bond. Bonding is typically used when extra adhesion is desired and when the aesthetics is of utmost importance. The various clinical aspects which define the choice of this technique is when the preparation is not retentive, when the isolation is possible, when high-end aesthetics is desired, like in case of veneers, and then when extra adhesion is needed, when there is less tooth structure is remaining to be bonded to the onto which the restoration has to be placed. Right. So what are the various cements that can be used for the bonding? So we have self-adhesive cements like GSM linkase and GSM capsules. We have adhesive resin cements like GSM linkfos. Now, what are the various advantages of bonded restorations? First, it is very strong and it is predictable to the enamel. Second, it increases the strength of the restoration. Third, it increases the tolerance to the decreased preparation in terms of resistance and retention form. And also, it increases the marginal aesthetics in the supragingival areas. These are the various advantages. And if you see the disadvantages, of course, there will be disadvantages. The major disadvantages, isolation becomes very critical. So, decreased predictability on the tooth surface other than the healthy enamel. Restorative materials must accept bonding to take advantage of many of its advantages. Cleanup is a bit difficult. and it tends to be more time consuming because there is a lot of steps involved in bonded luting. Now let's see what are the various cementation materials as well as the bonded materials. Along with that, we'll also see what are the various processes that can be luted with cements as well as the bonded luting materials. So if we see cements, so we have processes that can be cemented, can be carried out by the various conventional cements like type 1 glass ionomers, like Fuji 1, and the resin modified glass ionomers like Fuji-Sem. So the type of processes that can be cemented are metallic crown and bridges, metal ceramic processes. Usually they have retentive preparations. That's the reason we can cement them. Also, we can cement zirconias which have retentive preparations. When we come to the bonded luting options, the luting materials available are the resin cements. It can be a self-adhesive resin cement or an adhesive resin cement. And the restorations or the processes which can be typically bonded luted are basically glass ceramics, or we call it as lithium disilicate materials. Then we have feldspathic porcelain and lucite reinforced ceramics. They are to be bonded with resin cement with respective bonding and priming. Then we have zirconia restorations, which have less than the ideal retention. They also have to be bonded with a resin cement with particular primers. So the last slide we understood where the cements are used and where the bonded cements are used. So let's go deep into a little bit of resin cements. Now, resin cements can be classified into three categories. The first one is the self-adhesive, where the etching of the tooth is not required. Then we have the second category, that is adhesive resins, where the etching of the tooth is required, either a self-etch or a total etch technique. Then we have third category, which is also a type of adhesive resin cement. Basically, these are aesthetic resins, which are generally again used with etching techniques and are used in specifically in aesthetic processes like veneers and laminates. Observed in a clinical survey done in 2016 by Dental Advisor that clearly shows that the use of self-adhesive resin cements are slowly coming down as it takes a longer period for these self-adhesive resins to achieve an optimal bond strength. So it has been seen that a lot of debondings are being observed with self-adhesive resin cements. As mentioned in the article by Gordon Christensen, the surface treatment of processes plays a major role. Then the question arises, when the surface treatment of the prosthesis as well as the surface treatment of the tooth is plays a major role. So why not use an adhesive resin cement which provides much reliable and much faster bond strength when compared to the self-adhesive resin cements. So it's always better. So that's the reason you can see in this survey which has been done, the in the last 10 years, the adhesive resin cements, the use of adhesive resin cements have grown multifold, and the use of self-adhesive resin cements, both in case of zirconia as well as glass ceramics, have come down. Bond and loot protocol. Now, the bond and loot protocol is a bit different from the regular cementation, what we do with our glass ionomers in RMGIC. It comprises of four steps. First, it deals with the surface pre-treatment of the processes and then the priming of the processes. The third step would be the surface treatment of the tooth, which is going to receive the processes. And at the end, it is the luting of the processes onto the tooth. The surface pre-treatment and the priming depends upon the kind of substrate, and it's a very critical step as it is different for every substrate. With the substrate, I mean the every type of all ceramic restoration, the different type of all ceramic restoration. It might be a glass ceramic, it might be a lucite reinforced lucite ceramics, or it might be zirconia. Treatment protocols. So surface pre-treatment protocols depends upon the type of substrate we are trying to lute. First, if it is a silica-based glass ceramics, because it contains glass, Even if we are talking about a feldspathic ceramic, it also contains glass. It needs to be etched with hydrofluoric acid. The inner surface of the prosthesis needs to be etched with hydrofluoric acid, depending upon the type of ceramics we are using, to up to 20 to 40 seconds. And it has to be primed with a coupling agent, that is a silane coupling agent. But when we are talking about zirconia, zirconia is basically a type of metal, so it needs to be sandblasted. Now, if the most of the zirconia which comes from the lab are sandblasted, but when we do a try-in, there's always a possibility of the saliva seeping in into the sandblasted surface and blocking the sandblasted surfaces. The phospholipids which is present in the saliva, they block the sandblasted surface, giving it a smooth surface. So that needs to be cleaned, and it can be cleaned with a material which comes as a zirconia abundance material called as IvoClean. So what that does is it removes all the phospholipids and it re creates the sandblasted surface. Then a primer has to be applied, which is a zirconia primer, which is basically a MDP primer. If it is a retentive preparation, the primer application is not required. If you see the armamentarium required for bonded luting, it involves different surface prerequisites, like for the glass ceramics, you might require a hydrofluoric acid etch. For zirconia, you might require a sandblaster or an IvoClean. Then, if you see the priming materials, you might require a silane coupling agent, a zirconia primer, or metal primers, both precious and non-precious metal primers. Then, when you come to the tooth aspect, you might require an etchant, a phosphoric acid etchant, a bonding agent, might be a self-etch or a total etch bonding agent. Then, for the luting, you require either an adhesive resin cement or an aesthetic adhesive resin cement. If you see these many armamentariums, they make this protocol a bit confusing. And also to maintain these many inventories, it becomes a cumbersome process. Because sometimes what happens, a lot of these materials tend to go waste because they are either less used or they have a shortened shelf life. So I take this opportunity to introduce to a one-step solution for all bonded lutings, which not only reduces the inventory of the bonded luting materials, but also makes the bonded luting protocol a bit simplified. So I introduce you with a product called as GSEM Link Force, which is basically a dual cure adhesive resin luting cement. Link Force comprises of three elements which is there in the kit. One for a surface treatment priming, second one for the tooth priming or a tooth bonding, and the third one is the luting cement. The first one, which is used on the intaglio surface or the inner surface of the prosthesis, is a G multi primer. The second one, which basically is a bonding agent, an advanced 8th generation bonding agent, that is a G premium bond. And the third aspect or the third element of it is the adhesive resin cement, which is GSM link force. Now let's see each element of GSM link force kit. The first being G multi primer. Now what is this G multi primer all about? So as I said in the broad bonding protocol, we have something called as a priming. So for that, we require various types of primers depending upon the various substrates. Like you need a silane, you need a zirconia primer, you need a precious metal primer, you need a non-precious metal primer. Now, rather than having all these different kind of primers, what GC did, they got just one single bottle called as G multi primer, which comprises of a silane, which is for the glass ceramics and feldspathic ceramics. It comprises of MDP, which is for the surface priming of the zirconia as well as non-precious metals. Third, it contains MDTP, which is for the addition of the precious metal primer. So it's one bottle comprising of all these type of primers, reducing down the inventory of keeping the different type of primers. Now, how do we use it? So it's just simple. You just apply it onto the surface, whichever substrate you're using, just apply it onto the intaglio surface, that is the inner surface, dry it, leave it. And the best part in this is silane inside this does not undergo degradation. Basically, if you purchase a silane outside, it has to be consumed within 6 months of opening up because it is very unstable and it undergoes degradation. Here, all these primers does not undergo any degradation and can be used in any substrate. So one single primer for all your needs. Now the next element or the next link, as it is said, is a material for the tooth surface bonding. Now the tooth surface bonding is also an important aspect of bonded luting because you require a good bond strength between the cement as well as the tooth surface. Now, the bonding agent, because it's a resin cement, we require a bonding agent to form that uh, bond between the cement as well as the tooth. So the bonding agent here is called as the G premier bond, which is an advanced 8th generation bonding agent, which can be either a light cured one and it can be utilized as a dual cure when we are using it along with a dual cure activator. Now, the best part of this G premier bond is it contains format, it contains MDP, and it contains MDTP. It provides a great bond strength to the tooth structure, almost 42 megapascals of bond strength to the tooth structure. And another important aspect of this is it has, when it is applied onto the tooth surface, it has got a film thickness of just 3 microns, which is the least amongst whatever bonding agents are available in the market. 3 microns, and this becomes an ideal film thickness when you're bonding a veneer to the tooth structure. Now, the third element or the third link of GSM Link Force Kit is the adhesive resin luting cement. This is basically a dual cure cement which can be utilized for all indications and all type of restorations. Now, what do I mean by all indications and all type of restorations? All restorations means it can be utilized to lute a veneer, it can be utilized to lute an inlay or an onlay or a crown and bridge or the pose. So all type of restorations can be luted with this cement. Secondly, in all indications or all substrates means it can be used to lute a ceramic, all ceramic crown and bridges or all ceramic prosthesis. Secondly, it can be used to lute hybrid ceramics, metals, porcelain fused to metals, zirconia, as well as composite. So you don't need, there is no need to have a separate adhesive resin luting cement or and a aesthetic adhesive resin luting cement. So it becomes one cement which caters to all kind of processes and all kind of substrates. Now, the advantage of this GSM Link Force Kit is it ensures a perfect seating and a perfect adaptation owing to its low film thickness. The overall film thickness of GSM Link Force adhesive resin luting cement is just 4 microns, which includes the 3 microns of the bonding agent. So this is an ideal luting cement for veneers, inlays, and onlays. Because for veneers, what you require is the least film thickness in terms of the bonding agent as well as the resin luting cement. Another important aspect of GSM Link Force is its high color stability. That means it is stable with time without causing any aesthetic compromises, and it guarantees for a long lasting aesthetic results. Now, what does this mean? When a veneer is cemented or a veneer is luted, so over a period of time, within a year or 2 years, you'll see that the veneer starts losing its sheen. It starts becoming dull. It's not that the veneer has become dull, it's basically the aesthetic resin cement is undergoing degradation. And this degradation, a color degradation, is because of the tertiary amines which are present in these aesthetic resins. Now, with GSM link force, this kind of issues are not seen because the color which is provided by the GSM link force is stable enough because it does not contain tertiary amines, but in turn it contains something called as a BPO amines, which keeps releasing the free radicals, which does not destabilizes the color and provides you a long lasting aesthetic results. GSM link force comes in various shades because as we said this also can be utilized for veneer luting. So it comes in various shades like translucent, which is perfect for very thin restoration to preserve the original shade. It comes in A2, which is the standard for most of the luting most of the prosthetic pieces. Then opaque, which is used to mask the discolored substrates when needed. Then bleach, which is adapted for ultra-white restoration to increase opacity and value. So it comes in various shades. So it can be utilized as a veneer luting cement also. As we had read about the disadvantages of the bonded cements, bonded luting cements, as that's one of the disadvantages of the cleanup. But here, GSM link force provides you a convenient excess removal. You just have to tack-cure the material for 1 to 2 seconds. The excess can be easily removed from the margins without breaking the margins. If you see the features and benefits of GSM link force, it gives you a proper secure adhesion in all kind of situations with just only one system and three base elements. That is G premium one for the tooth, G multiprimer for the restorations, GSM link force, which becomes a strong link to all restorations and all indications. It provides you a ease of both light cure as well as a dual cure. The choice is yours. It is efficient both in light curing as well as in the dual cure mode. Third, it's aesthetic and stable until the last drop. That means we have got 4 shades to match all your needs. It provides you tooth-like fluorescence. The color stability is excellent and it has got an efficient polymerization system. Last but not the least, it's got a great bond strength of around 28 megapascals, which is achieved within 10 minutes of luting. GSM link force, dual cure adhesive resin cement. So you can count on GSM link force in all clinical situations for each and every indication for every kind of substrate. That means it's a one-stop solution for every kind of processes you want to lute. So which reduces down your inventory in your clinic in terms of primers, then the bonding as well as the resin luting cements. He has been providing smart solutions for all your luting challenges, ranging from temporary luting cement to an adhesive resin luting cement. So temporary cements such as Freeginol, which is a zinc oxide eugenol free cement for your temporary crowns. Then you have conventional glass enemas like Fuji 1, both in powder liquid as well as the capsules. Then you have resin modified glass enemas like Fuji Plus and Fuji Sem. Then you have self-adhesive resin cements like GSM Linkase. And now we have an adhesive resin luting cement called as GSM Link Force. All this is for providing you a smart solution for all your luting challenges.